What makes humans so dangerous? Part 1. First Contact Protocol. The research vessel Harmony moved through space with quiet grace. Its silver hull caught the light from nearby stars as it approached the third planet of a small solar system. Inside, the ship, Commander Vel, stood on the bridge, looking at the blue and green world through the main screen. "Another primitive world," said Dr. Kess, the ship's lead scientist. She was reading data from her instruments. "Their technology is very basic. They still use chemical rockets and simple radio signals." Commander Vel nodded. He had seen many worlds like this during his long career with the Galactic Federation. The Altarians were known for their peaceful nature and skill in first contact missions. Vel had personally welcomed over 50 new species into the Federation family. "How long since they discovered spaceflight?" asked Navigator Jal from his station. "Less than 100 years, Dr. Kess replied. They are very young as a spacefaring species. Their weapons are crude and their ships are slow." The bridge crew worked quietly. Communications Officer Rin was monitoring the planet's radio waves, trying to understand the local languages. The aliens had done this many times before. First contact was always the same. Find a primitive world, study their culture, make peaceful contact, and invite them to join the Federation. "Commander," said Rin, "I am picking up many different languages. From the planet, seems they have not united under one government yet." Vel smiled. "That is normal for young species. They will learn to work together in time." The Harmony had been watching Earth for 3 days now. The crew had studied human cities, their transportation systems, and their basic technology. Everything seemed ordinary. Humans appeared to be like most other species at their level of development. "Sir," said Dr. Kess, "their military technology is interesting. They have many different types of weapons, but nothing that could threaten our ships. What about their behavior patterns?" Vel asked. "They seem to fight among themselves quite often," Dr. Kess said, looking at her data. "But this is common for species that have not yet joined the galactic community." Vel walked to the center of the bridge. "Prepare the first contact protocol. We will introduce ourselves and offer friendship." The crew began their preparations. The Federation had a standard way of making first contact. They would send a peaceful message, show their advanced technology, and explain the benefits of joining the galactic community. Most species were eager to learn from older, more developed civilizations. "Message prepared, Commander," said Rin. "Broadcasting on all frequencies." The message was simple. The Galactic Federation came in peace. They wanted to meet with Earth's leaders and share knowledge. They offered protection, technology, and a place in the larger galactic community. Within hours, responses came from the planet below. Many different governments and organizations tried to communicate with the alien ship. The humans seemed excited and curious about the visitors from space. "They are responding well," said Rin. "Many different groups want to meet with us." But then something unexpected happened. Dr. Kess noticed movement on her screens. "Commander, I'm detecting multiple ships leaving the planet." "Probably a welcome party," said Vel. "Many species send their best ships to greet us." However, as the human ships approached, their formation looked strange. Instead of flying in a celebration pattern, they moved in tight groups with specific spacing between vessels. "Those formations look military," said Navigator Jal, studying the approaching ships. "Impossible," said Dr. Kess. "Their technology is too primitive to pose any threat." The human ships continued to approach in organized groups. Some ships stayed back while others moved forward. It looked like they were following a careful plan. "Commander," said Rin, "the humans are sending many different messages. Some want to welcome us, but others are asking about our intentions and capabilities." Vel found this interesting. Most species were simply amazed by Federation technology. They usually asked for help and protection right away. But these humans seemed to be studying the alien ship just as carefully as the aliens were studying them. "Scan their ships," ordered Vel. "Let us see what they have brought to meet us." The scan showed human vessels with basic weapons and simple engines. Nothing that could damage the Harmony. But the way they moved was unusual. Each ship seemed to know exactly where to go and what to do. "Their coordination is remarkable," said Navigator Jal. "For such a young species, they move their ships with great skill." More human ships arrived. Soon there were dozens of vessels. Surrounding the Harmony at a respectful distance, they maintained perfect formation, with no ship out of place. "This is different from our usual first contacts," said Dr. Kess. "Most species send 1 or 2 ships. These humans have created a small fleet." Vel studied the human formation. Something about it felt wrong, but he could not identify what. The humans were being polite and peaceful, but their military precision was unexpected, Commander said. "Rin, the humans are asking us to meet at a neutral location. They want to send representatives to a space station they are building." "A space station?" asked Vel. "Our scans showed they had no such capability. Apparently they had been building it in secret," said Dr. Kess. "It is small, but functional." And this was another surprise. The Federation had been watching Earth for days, but they had missed this construction project. Either the humans had built it very quickly, or they had hidden it well. "Sir," said Navigator Jal, "some of the human ships are moving to different positions. They are maintaining the same formation, but they are spreading out." Vel looked at the tactical display. The human ships were still peaceful, but their positioning was becoming more strategic. They were not just surrounding the Harmony anymore, they were covering all possible escape routes. "Are they threatening us?" asked Dr. Kess. "No," said Vel slowly, "but they are being very careful." The human fleet continued to maintain its position. Each ship stayed exactly where it needed to be. Their communications were professional and friendly, but there was something underneath that made Vel uncomfortable. "Commander," said Rin, "the humans are ready to begin formal negotiations. They have selected their representatives and prepared their space station." Vel made his decision. "Very well, prepare a shuttle. We'll meet with these humans and see what they have." To say as the crew prepared for the meeting, Vel continued to watch the human ships. They moved with a precision that seemed impossible for such a young species. Most new civilizations were excited and disorganized during first contact, but these humans acted like they had been preparing for this moment their entire lives. "Something is different about this species," Vel said quietly to himself. Dr. Kess overheard him. "Different how, Commander?" "I am not sure yet," Vel replied, "but they are not behaving like other primitive species we have encountered." The Harmony prepared to send its diplomatic team to meet with humanity. None of the aliens realized they were about to discover something that would change their understanding of what made a species truly dangerous in the galaxy. What makes humans so dangerous? Part 2. The deception. The neutral space station hung in the void between Earth and the Harmony. It was a simple structure, hastily built but functional. Commander Vel stepped off his shuttle and looked around. The meeting chamber? The humans had prepared everything perfectly for the negotiations. "Welcome to Station Unity," said Admiral Cross, the lead human representative. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. "We are honored to meet representatives of the Galactic Federation." Beside Admiral Cross stood Dr. Maya Beck, a scientist who seemed young but spoke with confidence. Behind them were several other humans, each wearing simple uniforms that looked professional but not threatening. "The honor is ours," replied Commander Vel. "The Federation is always pleased to welcome new civilizations into our community." Dr. Kess, Navigator Jal, and Communications Officer Rin took their seats around a circular table. The humans had designed the meeting room to make everyone feel equal. There was no head of the table, no special places for either side. "Your space station is impressive for such quick construction," said Dr. Kess. "How did you build it so fast?" Dr. Beck smiled. "We humans have always been good at working together when we need to. When we learned about your arrival, many nations contributed resources and workers." Admiral Cross nodded. "We thought it would be better to meet on neutral ground rather than on either of our ships." Vel found this reasonable. Most species preferred to meet on Federation vessels because they were impressed by the advanced technology. But these humans seemed to prefer independence. "Shall we begin with cultural exchanges?" suggested Dr. Beck. "We have prepared information about human history, art, and science to share with you." The next several hours were spent in what seemed like normal first contact procedures. The humans showed videos of their cities, their music, and their technological achievements. They appeared eager to learn about other species in the galaxy. "Fascinating," said Dr. Kess, as she watched human art displays. Your species is great. Creativity. Most civilizations at your development level focus only on survival needs. We believe beauty and knowledge are just as important as food and shelter, said Dr. Beck. They feed different parts of our souls, Bell observed the human representatives carefully. They were polite, curious, and seemed genuinely interested in joining the galactic community. Admiral Cross asked thoughtful questions about Federation policies and procedures. How many species belong to the Federation? Cross asked. Currently 437, replied Vel. Each brings unique gifts to our shared civilization. How do you handle disputes between species? Dr. Beck inquired. The Council of Worlds discusses all major issues, said Navigator Jal. Decisions are made by peaceful debate and voting. The humans nodded and took notes. They seemed impressed by the Federation's democratic approach to governance. What about defense? Asked Admiral Krauss. What does the Federation protect its members? The Federation Defense Force maintains peace throughout our territory, explained Vel. Most conflicts are resolved through diplomacy, but we have the capability to defend ourselves when necessary. How large is this defense force? Cross continued. Vel hesitated for a moment. The question seemed innocent enough, but it was oddly specific. Large enough to handle any threats we have encountered, he said carefully. Dr. Beck changed the subject smoothly. We would love to learn about Federation science and technology. Our researchers are very excited about the possibilities. Aliens began sharing basic information about their technological capabilities. They explained how their ships traveled faster than light, how their medical systems could cure most diseases, and how their energy sources were clean and unlimited. Humans listened with great interest. They asked detailed questions about scientific principles and engineering methods. Dr. Beck seemed particularly fascinated by Federation computer systems. Your artificial intelligence capabilities are remarkable, she said. How do you prevent them from becoming too independent? We program them with strict limitations, explained Dr. Kess. They can only operate within specific parameters. But what if someone tried to reprogram them? Dr. Beck asked. Hypothetically speaking, of course. Dr. Kess looked puzzled. Why would anyone want to do that? The systems work perfectly as designed. Admiral Cross asked about military technologies, but in a way that seemed casual. Your defense systems must be very advanced. How do you protect ships during space battles? Our shields can deflect most known weapons, said Navigator Jal proudly. Our weapon systems are precise and powerful. What about electronic warfare? Cross inquired. Jamming communications, disrupting computer systems. Electronic warfare is rarely used, said Vel. Most conflicts in our region are resolved through conventional means. The humans exchange subtle glances. They seem to be storing away every piece of information they received. During a break in the formal discussions, the humans invited the aliens to see more of their space station. They toured the construction areas, the living quarters, and the communication centers. Your builders work with impressive coordination, observed Navigator Jal as he watched human workers installing equipment. We have had a lot of practice working on complex projects, said Dr. Beck. Our species has built many large structures on our planet. What the aliens did not notice was that the humans were studying them just as carefully. Every time a Federation officer explained a piece of technology, human technicians in other parts of the station were analyzing similar equipment they'd quietly acquired. Admiral Cross had arranged for small devices to monitor the alien shuttle when it docked. These devices recorded energy signatures, communication frequencies, and structural materials. The information was immediately sent to research teams on Earth. Dr. Beck engaged Dr. Kess in conversations about biological differences between species. While she seemed to be sharing information about human physiology, she was actually learning about alien weaknesses and advantages. Do all Federation species have similar reaction times? Dr. Beck asked innocently. Most are comparable, replied Dr. Kess, though some species are naturally faster or slower than others. And how do different species handle stress or fear? Dr. Beck continued. Each species has its own psychological patterns, said Dr. Kess, not realizing she was providing valuable intelligence about potential enemy behavior. The human representatives worked as a team, though the aliens did not recognize the coordination. While Admiral Cross asked about military matters, Dr. Beck focused on science and technology. Other human officers gathered information about politics, economics, and social structures. They made their intelligence gathering look like friendly curiosity. When they asked about Federation weaknesses, they framed the questions as requests for advice on how to avoid similar problems. "Have any species ever left the Federation?" asked one human officer. "Very rarely," said Vel. "Of membership are too great to abandon. But if someone did want to leave, what would happen?" "The Federation would try to address their concerns," Vel explained. "We believe in voluntary cooperation, not forced membership." The humans filed away this information along with everything else they learned. As the day continued, the Federation representatives became more comfortable with their human hosts. The aliens began sharing more detailed information, thinking they were helping a primitive species understand advanced concepts. Meanwhile, the humans demonstrated abilities that the aliens completely misunderstood. When Dr. Beck quickly grasped complex scientific principles, the aliens thought she was simply intelligent. They did not realize she was mentally reverse engineering their explanations to understand the underlying technology. When Admiral Cross asked strategic questions, the aliens thought he was being thorough. They did not recognize that he was building a complete picture of Federation military capabilities and tactics. The humans showed remarkable pattern recognition skills during their discussions. They could take scattered pieces of information and combine them into complete understanding. But the aliens saw this as entertaining conversation rather than sophisticated intelligence analysis. "Your species has an interesting way of thinking," said Dr. Kess to Dr. Beck. "You make connections between ideas very quickly." "We enjoy solving puzzles," Dr. Beck replied with a smile. "The more complex, the better." By the end of the meeting, both sides felt satisfied with the progress. The Federation representatives believed they had found another peaceful species ready to join their community. The humans had successfully gathered detailed intelligence about alien technology, military capabilities, and political structures. "This has been very productive," said Commander Vel as the meeting concluded. "We look forward to continuing these discussions." "So do we," replied Admiral Cross. "We have learned so much today." Neither side realized that only one group had truly learned what they needed to know. What makes humans so dangerous? Part 3. The war begins. The attack came without warning. War Chief Drac of the Hegemony Empire led his massive fleet through hyperspace, targeting both Federation worlds and the new human colonies. His ships were dark and angular, built for destruction rather than exploration. The pathetic Federation grows weak. Drac growled to his officers on the bridge of his flagship. "They welcome every primitive species they find. Now we will show them the price of weakness." The Hegemony had been watching the Federation's expansion with growing anger. They believed in strength through conquest, not peaceful cooperation. The idea of welcoming lesser species as equals disgusted them. "What about the humans?" asked Subcommander Vex. "Intelligence reports say they are very primitive." Drac's massive form shook with laughter. "Humans, they barely have spaceflight. We will crush them first to send a message to the Federation." The first target was New Haven, a human colony on the edge of their territory. The settlement had only 50,000 people and basic defenses. It seemed like an easy victory for the Hegemony war machine. Aboard the Harmony, Commander Vel received emergency communications from both Federation Command and Earth. The aliens were under attack across multiple systems. "Commander," said Communications Officer Rin, "we are receiving distress calls from 7 different worlds. The Hegemony is launching coordinated strikes." "What about the human colonies?" asked Dr. Kess. "New Haven is under attack," Rin replied. "The humans are requesting immediate assistance." Vel stood up quickly, set course for New Haven. "We must protect them." But Navigator Jawl looked confused at his instruments. "Sir, I am also receiving a message from Earth. They are declining our assistance." "Declining?" Vel asked. "That makes no sense. They cannot fight the Hegemony alone." The message from Admiral Cross was clear but surprising. "Thank you for your offer of protection. However, humanity will handle its own defense. We ask that you focus on protecting Federation worlds." Dr. Kess shook her head. They do not understand what they are facing. The hegemony has been fighting wars for centuries. Human technology cannot match their weapons. On the bridge of his flagship, War Chief Drac watched the approach to New Haven. His fleet of 200 ships moved in perfect formation. Each vessel carried enough firepower to destroy a city. Scan the human defenses, Drac ordered. Minimal. Resistance detected, reported his weapons officer. A few patrol ships and orbital platforms. Nothing that can threaten us, good Drac said. We'll make this quick and bloody. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who oppose the hegemony. The hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace at New Haven. The human colony looked defenseless, with only a handful of small ships protecting it. Begin the attack, Drac commanded. The hegemony ships opened fire with their heavy weapons. Bright energy beams lanced toward the human defenses. But something strange happened. The human ships did not try to fight back in a traditional manner. Instead, they scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that seemed random but somehow coordinated. Some ships flew directly at the hegemony fleet while others moved to the sides or retreated toward the planet. What are they doing? Asked Subcommander Vex. Running like cowards, Drac replied. Destroy them all. That the human ships were not running. They were executing a plan that the hegemony did not recognize. Some ships acted as decoys, drawing enemy fire while others maneuvered to better positions. The human vessels were much smaller and weaker than hegemony ships, but they moved with surprising speed and agility. They used the planet's gravity and debris fields to their advantage, making themselves difficult targets. Sir, said the weapons officer, we are having trouble locking onto the human ships. They keep changing direction and speed. Then use area weapons, Drac ordered. Destroy everything in the system. The hegemony began firing massive bombardment weapons at the planet itself, but the human ships responded by attacking the hegemony vessels from unexpected angles. They struck at engines, weapons systems, and communication arrays. Back on Earth, Admiral Cross watched the battle through communication links with New Haven. The colony's defense plan was working, but barely. How long can they hold out? Asked Dr. Beck. Long enough, Cross replied. Phase 2 is already beginning. On New Haven, the human colonists were not simply hiding. They had prepared for this moment since the first day they arrived. Underground bunkers protected the civilian population, while hidden weapon systems activated across the colony. The hegemony expected to face a few orbital defenses and patrol ships. Instead, they found themselves fighting an entire planet that had been turned into a fortress. Surface-to-space missiles launched from concealed positions. The weapons were crude by galactic standards, but there were hundreds of them. They swarmed the hegemony ships like angry insects. Where are all these weapons coming from? Demanded War Chief Drac. The entire planet appears to be armed, reported his tactical officer. We're detecting weapon systems everywhere. The human strategy was becoming clear. It could not match hegemony technology, so they used numbers and unpredictability instead. Every mountain, every building, every asteroid in the system seemed to hide weapons or traps. Meanwhile, the Federation fleet finally arrived at the edge of the system. Commander Vell expected to find human survivors fleeing from overwhelming hegemony forces. Instead, he found a battle that made no sense. The humans are still fighting, said Navigator Jal in amazement. How is that possible? Look at their tactics, said Dr. Kess, studying the tactical display. They are not fighting like any species we have encountered. The human ships moved in ways that seemed chaotic, but were actually carefully planned. They used ramming attacks, suicide runs, and coordinated swarm tactics. Individual human vessels were weak, but together they created a dangerous threat. War Chief Druck was becoming frustrated. What should have been a quick victory was turning into a costly battle. The ships were taking damage from weapons that should not have been able to hurt them. These humans fight like madmen, said Sub-Commander Vex. They ram their ships into ours even when they know it means death. Cowards and fanatics, Drac growled. No organized military would waste ships like this. But the humans were not being wasteful. Each sacrifice served a purpose. Every ramming attack damaged important hegemony systems. Every suicidal run gathered intelligence about enemy capabilities. The human colonists on New Haven had been preparing for this battle for months. They knew they could not win through superior technology, so they planned to win through superior determination. Hidden factories had been producing weapons and ammunition. Underground training facilities had prepared every adult for combat. The entire colony was a military base disguised as a peaceful settlement. "Sir," said the hegemony weapons officer, "we have lost 12 ships and suffered damage to 30 more. The humans have lost over 100 vessels, but they keep fighting." Drax stared at the tactical display. By all military logic, the humans should have surrendered by now. Their losses were catastrophic, their technology was inferior, and their situation was hopeless. But they kept fighting with a determination that Drax had never seen before. "Bring in the reserve fleet," he ordered. "We will overwhelm them with pure numbers." 200 more hegemony ships jumped into the system. Now the humans faced 400 enemy vessels with their remaining forces. "Commander?" Vel watched the battle from the Federation ship. "We must help them," he said. "They cannot survive against those odds." "Wait," said Dr. Kess, pointing at her. "Sensors. Something is happening," or human ships were arriving in the system. Not just a few reinforcements, but entire fleets from across human space. Ships that had been hidden, scattered, or disguised as civilian vessels suddenly revealed themselves as military assets. "Where did all these ships come from?" asked Navigator Jawl. The humans had been planning this moment since their first contact with the Federation. While they appeared to be a peaceful, divided species, they had actually been preparing for war. Every human colony, every trading vessel, every exploration ship was part of a larger military network. What looked like civilian infrastructure was actually a distributed defense system. War Chief Drax found himself facing not just one human colony, but the entire human military machine. And that machine was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen ever. Seeing the battle for New Haven had become something much larger. It was the moment when humanity revealed what they were truly capable of when pushed to their limits. What makes humans so dangerous? Part 4. Human Ingenuity Unleashed. The war had been raging for 6 months. What started as a simple attack on human colonies had become a nightmare for the hegemony empire. War Chief Drax stared at the reports from his field commanders, unable to believe what he was reading. "How can they adapt so quickly?" he demanded from his officers. "Every time we develop new tactics, the humans have a counter-strategy within days." Sub-Commander Vex looked equally confused. "Our intelligence reports show they are capturing our technology and somehow improving it. This should be impossible for such a primitive species." On Earth, Dr. Maya Beck stood in a massive research facility filled with captured hegemony equipment. Human engineers and scientists worked around the clock, taking apart alien technology and rebuilding it with human modifications. "Show me the latest weapon prototype," Beck said to her team leader, Dr. Tom Harris. "We took their plasma cannon." "Design," Harris explained, pointing to a sleek weapon on the test bench, "but we added our own targeting system and power regulation. It fires faster and uses less energy than the original." Beck smiled. "And the defensive systems? Even better," Harris replied. "Their shield technology was designed to stop energy weapons, but we modified it to work against physical projectiles too. Plus, we made it lighter and more mobile." The human approach to technology amazed even their own scientists. Instead of simply copying alien designs, they took the basic concepts and rebuilt them from scratch. They combined hegemony technology with human engineering principles to create something entirely new. Captain Tom Lewis commanded a human fleet in the asteroid belt near Jupiter. His ships looked different from both Federation and hegemony vessels. They were a mix of human design and captured alien technology, creating unique hybrid warships. "Enemy fleet detected," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Kate Morgan. 60 hegemony ships approaching from Sector 7. "How many do we have?" Lewis asked. 35 ships, sir. We are outnumbered almost 2 to 1. Lewis studied the tactical display. In a traditional battle, his smaller fleet would be destroyed. But humans had stopped fighting traditional battles months ago. "Signal the drone squadrons," he ordered. "Begin swarm pattern attack." From hidden positions throughout the asteroid field, hundreds of small, unmanned ships activated. These drones were built from salvaged hegemony technology, but programmed with human artificial intelligence systems. The hegemony commander, or Captain Grix, watched in confusion as swarms of tiny ships emerged from the asteroids. Each drone was barely larger than a fighter craft, but there were so many of them that they blocked his sensors. "What are those things?" he demanded. "Unknown class vessels," reported his sensor officer. "They appear to be unmanned, but they are moving with coordinated patterns." The drone swarms attacked like a pack of hunting animals. They did not try to fight hegemony ships one-on-one. Instead, dozens of drones would target a single enemy vessel, overwhelming its defenses through sheer numbers. Each drone carried weapons that had been reverse-engineered from captured hegemony technology. The weapons were smaller and less powerful than the originals, but the humans had made them more accurate and faster firing. "Sir," called the hegemony weapons officer, "the drones are learning from our defensive patterns. Every time we destroy one, the others adapt their attack methods." War Captain Grix had never seen anything like it. Human drones seemed to share information instantly. When one discovered a weakness in hegemony shields, all the others immediately exploited the same weakness. Behind the drone swarms, Captain Lewis's human ships began their own attack. But they did not fight like any military force Grix had encountered. Some ships flew directly at hegemony vessels at maximum speed, preparing for ramming attacks. Others hid behind asteroids and fired long-range weapons. Still others launched boarding pods filled with human soldiers. "They fight without any regard for their own safety," observed the hegemony tactical officer. "No civilized species would sacrifice so many ships." But the humans were not being reckless. Every sacrifice served a strategic purpose. The ramming ships were filled with explosives and guidance systems, turning them into massive guided missiles. The boarding parties were not trying to capture ships, to plant computer viruses in hegemony systems. Dr. Beck had developed these computer viruses by studying captured hegemony artificial intelligence. She discovered that alien computer systems were more advanced than human technology, but they were also more predictable. "Their AI follows strict programming rules," she explained to her research team. "They cannot think outside their parameters, but our viruses can adapt and evolve inside their systems." The boarding parties only needed to access a hegemony computer for a few minutes. Once the virus was installed, it would spread throughout the enemy ship's network, causing systems to malfunction or shut down completely. War Captain Grix found his flagship systems acting strangely during the battle. Weapons would fire at the wrong targets, shields would drop without warning, and navigation systems would give incorrect readings. "What is happening to our computers?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir," replied his technical officer. "All systems report normal function, but they are not operating correctly. The human virus was designed to be subtle. Instead of completely destroying hegemony systems, it caused small errors and delays. Weapons would miss their targets by tiny amounts. Shield frequencies would shift slightly, reducing their effectiveness. Engine thrust would fluctuate, making precise maneuvering impossible. These small problems added up to major disadvantages during combat. Hegemony ships that should have been superior to human vessels found themselves losing battles they should have won easily. Meanwhile, human ships demonstrated fighting capabilities that defied all military logic. They operated in environments that should have been impossible, from the crushing gravity wells near gas giants to the radiation storms around pulsars. "How can they fight in these conditions?" asked Subcommander Vex during a battle near Saturn's rings. "Human ships moved through the ice and rock debris like they were built for it, used the ring material as cover, as weapons, and as camouflage. Hegemony vessels, designed for open space combat, struggled to operate effectively in such cluttered environments. The humans had modified their ships with technology from a dozen different sources. Federation life support systems kept crews alive. In hostile environments, hegemony weapons provided firepower. But human engineering tied it all together with innovations that neither alien species had considered. "Look at this." Dr. Harris showed Beck a new ship design. We took their hull plating, our engine design, and Federation computer systems. But we added rotating sections for artificial gravity and modular weapon pods that can be swapped out during battle. The result was ships that could reconfigure themselves for different missions. An exploration vessel could become a fighter in minutes. A transport ship could turn into a mobile weapons platform. The humans had created the most adaptable fleet in galactic history. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of human warfare was their psychological resilience. Other species had breaking points where they would surrender or retreat. Humans seemed to get stronger as situations became more desperate. War Chief Drac received reports from across the war zone. Human forces that should have been defeated weeks ago were still fighting. Colonies that should have surrendered were still resisting. Fleets that should have been destroyed kept returning with new ships and new tactics. "They do not fight like soldiers," reported one of his commanders. "They fight like their entire species depends on victory." And in many ways it did. The humans understood that this war would determine their place in the galaxy. They could either prove themselves as a force to be respected or be crushed as a primitive species that had overreached every human in space. From ship captains to engineers to colonists, fought with the knowledge that failure meant the end of human independence. This gave them a determination that no other species could match. The war was no longer about territory or resources. It had become a test of human ingenuity, adaptability, and will to survive against impossible odds. What makes humans so dangerous? Part 5. The Reckoning. The final phase of the war began with a message that shocked the entire galaxy. Admiral Cross stood before the combined fleets of humanity, broadcasting to every world in hegemony space. Is Admiral Cross of the Human Defense Fleet, his voice carried across the void. "We offer the hegemony empire one chance for peace. Surrender now, or face the consequences of your actions." War Chief Drac laughed when he heard the transmission. "These humans have lost their minds. They think they can threaten us with their primitive technology." But Drac's laughter faded when his intelligence officers brought him the latest reports. Human fleets were moving toward the hegemony's core worlds, and these were not the same ships that had fought at the beginning of the war. "Sir," said Subcommander Vex, "our scouts report that human vessels are using technology we have never seen before. They appear to be using our own ships, but with massive modifications." The truth was even more disturbing than Vex realized. The humans had not just modified captured hegemony ships. They had completely rebuilt them using a combination of technologies from across the galaxy. Federation computer systems, hegemony weapons, human engineering, and innovations that no one had ever imagined. Captain Tom Lewis commanded the lead human fleet as it approached the hegemony capital system. His flagship was once a hegemony battle cruiser, but now it looked like something from a nightmare. The hull was covered with additional weapons, armor plating, and sensor arrays that gave it an almost organic appearance. "Enemy forces detected," reported Lieutenant Morgan. "The entire hegemony home fleet is waiting for us." Lewis studied the tactical display. Over 800 hegemony ships defended their capital world. It was the largest concentration of military power in the galaxy. "How many ships do we have?" Lewis asked. 437, Morgan replied. "But sir, they are not all combat vessels. Some are converted civilian ships." Lewis smiled grimly. "That is exactly what we want them to think." The hegemony defenders prepared for a traditional space battle. They arranged their ships in standard formations, with heavy cruisers in the center and fighters on the flanks. It was a formation that had won countless battles across the galaxy, but the humans had no intention of fighting a traditional battle. As the human fleet approached, something strange happened. The ships began to change shape. Sections of hull plating moved aside to reveal hidden weapons. Cargo pods detached and transformed into independent attack craft. What looked like a small fleet suddenly became a swarm of hundreds of individual combat units. "What is happening?" demanded War Chief Drac from his command ship. "The human vessels are separating into smaller units," reported his tactical officer. "Each ship appears to be carrying multiple subvessels." The humans had learned that fighting large ships with large ships was inefficient. Instead, they had created modular fleets where each vessel could break apart into smaller, more maneuverable units. A single human ship could become 5 or 6 independent fighters in minutes. But the real surprise came when the battle began. The human vessels did not attack the hegemony fleet directly. Instead, they bypassed the military ships entirely and headed straight for the capital world itself. "They're ignoring our fleet," said Sub-Commander Vex in amazement. "They are going directly for the planet." Drak ordered his ships to pursue, but the humans had planned for this. As the hegemony fleet changed course to intercept, hidden human forces emerged from behind asteroids and space debris. The defenders found themselves caught between 2 human fleets. The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The humans fought with a creativity and unpredictability that made traditional military tactics useless. They used gravity weapons to fling asteroids at enemy ships. They deployed clouds of nanobots that ate through enemy armor. They even used captured hegemony vessels as decoys, piloted by advanced artificial intelligence. Dr. Maya Beck watched the battle from her command center on Earth. The strategies being used were the result of months of planning and preparation. Every human ship was equipped with technology that had been developed by combining the best ideas from across the galaxy. "The nanobots are working perfectly," reported Dr. Harris. "They are disabling enemy weapons and life support systems without completely destroying the ships." Beck nodded. "And the gravity weapons, exceeding expectations. The enemy has no defense against gravitational attacks because they have never encountered them before." The humans had weaponized physics itself. They used technology that other species had developed for peaceful purposes and turned it into instruments of war. Gravity generators became weapons that could crush enemy ships. Terraforming equipment became tools for creating space hazards. Even medical nanobots were reprogrammed to attack enemy technology instead of healing. As the battle raged around the hegemony capital, something even more significant was happening. Human forces were simultaneously attacking key worlds throughout hegemony space. The attacks were coordinated across dozens of star systems, striking at the same moment despite being separated by hundreds of light years. "How can they coordinate attacks across such vast distances?" asked War Chief Drak. The answer lay in human modifications to Federation communication technology. The aliens had developed faster-than-light communication for peaceful purposes. Humans had improved it and weaponized it, creating a command and control system that allowed instant coordination across the galaxy. Every human fleet commander could see the entire war in real time. When one battle group discovered a weakness in enemy defenses, that information was instantly shared with every other human force. The hegemony faced not just individual fleets, but a single, galaxy-spanning military intelligence. The tide of the war turned in a matter of hours. Hegemony forces that had been winning battles suddenly found themselves outmaneuvered and overwhelmed. Their communication systems were jammed. Their computer networks were infected with viruses. Their weapons were turned against them by captured artificial intelligence systems. War Chief Drak watched his empire crumble from the bridge of his flagship. His homeworld was under attack. His fleets were being destroyed. His allies were surrendering or switching sides. "Sir," said Sub-Commander Vex, "we are receiving surrender offers from 12 sector commanders. They say the situation is hopeless." Drak stared at the tactical display. The humans had not just won the battle, it had dismantled the entire hegemony. Military machine in a single coordinated strike. He whispered. The answer came from an unexpected source. Commander Vel of the Federation had been monitoring the battle from his ship. He contacted the human fleet directly. "Admiral Cross," Vel said, "the Federation Council is prepared to mediate a peace agreement." Cross appeared on the communication screen. "The terms are simple: complete surrender of all hegemony forces, withdrawal from all occupied worlds, reparations for damages caused by this war. And if we refuse?" asked Drak, who had joined the communication. Cross smiled coldly. "Then we will show you what humans are really capable of when we stop holding back." The threat was not empty. The humans had demonstrated abilities that defied every assumption about primitive species. They had taken the technology of advanced civilizations and improved upon it. They had fought battles in environments that should have been impossible. They had coordinated military operations across galactic distances. But most importantly, they had shown a determination and creativity that no other species could match. They did not fight according to established rules. They made their own rules and forced their enemies to adapt or die. War Chief. Drac looked at his ruined empire and made the only choice he could. The hegemony surrenders, he said quietly. War was over. Humanity had faced the greatest military power in the galaxy and won. But the victory came with a price. Every species in the galaxy now understood that humans were not the primitive, harmless creatures they had appeared to be. Commander Vell sent a message to the Federation Council that would change galactic politics forever. Request immediate council session, he wrote. We need to discuss humanity's application for full Federation membership. They have proven they are not a species that can be protected or controlled. They can only be respected as equals. The galaxy had learned what made humans truly dangerous. It was not their technology, their weapons, or their numbers. It was their refusal to accept limitations, their ability to adapt to any situation, and their determination to exceed every expectation placed upon them. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through conquest, but through proving that they could not be conquered.